is everyone doing, guys? Dave Van Auken, special guest. Always loving reviewing the year, 2 years in a row. Mr. Dean Thomas, sir, how are you?
What's up, man? What's good with you?
Man, we're good. It's been a hard 2020, but the family's good. The Fight Bananas and the podcast and MMA has been on fire lately. We've been really lucky and blessed, so we've had a good year.
Trust me, man. I've been watching you. I watch what you do, man, and I peep game, and I'm proud of you, man. I'm very proud of you for what you've done and being able to sustain it in this game for so long, because I know it's difficult.
It is. It's tight. And so I know you commentated on the Icon 2. If I was at Icon 1, it's in the States. It's so much easier for me to travel. It's with the whole COVID and the family, everything. I couldn't get out there to San Carlos. But that's that. I know that was a real fun event, and they're missing you. They missed you in the last couple. They always love TJ and Dean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go, but I had some things come up, man, and I didn't end up making it out to them shows. But you know what? You know, Pearl, she's a sweetheart, and yep. I know she can handle it. So, you know, it's up to me to, pass it on. Like when I get opportunities that I can't fulfill, I'm going to pass it on to the next person in line. And I know Pearl, she's very good at what she does. And I know she did a good job.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're here to kind of review 2020, especially in the UFC and MMA. But before we do that, I definitely want to hit on you about, for one, heads up, guys. I would love for you to talk to everyone about it. I'm going to put the link in all the bios that we do. Throw this out there. Love for you to hit on that. And then, two, of course, you're out there in Vegas at the Apex with Gillian over the weekend, and just kind of seeing, I know it didn't go your way, but just seeing how you guys are at mentally, physically, and going forward, and just kind of a recap of that as well.
So, when we get into heads up, guys, first?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yep. So I'm sorry, I said hands up. That was a play that I did last year, so I was thinking hands up. But Heads Up Guys is an organization that is dedicated to spreading awareness to mental health in men, because for men it's very kind of a frowned upon thing to show weakness and show that you're vulnerable and that you can have issues. And being in MMA, I think a lot of MMA fighters get into MMA because they have like mental issues in the first place. And then when you start getting punched in the head, it gets worse. So it's like, it's a very difficult thing. And then as men, especially in this sport where it's very alpha, it's frowned upon to not show that weakness or vulnerability. So I wanted to start shining some light on this. And I heard about this organization through my good friend, Tracy Trudeau. She's Canadian. And there's an organization over there that shines a light on it. So I wanted to be a part of it and help them out. And I started cycling. So I said, what could I do to bring attention to this? I said, all right, well, I'm half crazy myself. So let me see if I can't ride my bike across the state. Here I go.
Two things real quick on that, Dean. You said she's Canadian, so I like how she's not a friend. She's a good friend. There's no Canadians that are just friends. They're usually really good friends. That's they're Canadian, That's one.
Well, they're the nicest people I've ever met. And in fact, I send her stuff like extra clothes and stuff that I have, and she gives it out to homeless people. So it's we have a good relationship.
That's very cool. Very cool. And then two, you're so right. It's how much, especially with fighters, men fighters, let's just throw that out there. They work on their body 6 days a week. They're grinding, lifting weights, abs, getting beat up literally for a living. That's how you're training. But they probably don't do that much training for their mind, the mental side of it, the mental game of it. And that's the thing I took from this 2020 year was the winning fighters were usually very strong mentally. Everyone's around the same height, same weight, you're in that weight class. You're usually the same. Practices are tough, sometimes bigger camps, smaller camps. But at the end of the day, if you're stronger mentally, or if you're in a good spot, everything in life is good, usually that person wins 60, 75% of the time. I think it's a really strong message you're sending.
Yeah. And when you talk about that, like the mental aspect of combat sports is very important. And I always tell my fighters that I can't always tell you when you're going to win, but I can almost always tell you when you're about to lose, because I can see it in your face. You don't really want to be there. And I can see, and it comes out in different ways, complaining, making excuses before the fight, just showing that you're not fully prepared mentally. And I can almost always tell. I got to go through it though. I'm like, It's going to be one of them nights. But and that's just come from a combat perspective. But again, like having control of your mind is all the same. You have to be able to have control of your mind, whether it's being prepared for a fight, being prepared for life, or being prepared for death. No matter what it is, you have to be prepared mentally for it.
Right, right. Like I said, last thing before we go really into the 2020, how's Gillian doing? You know, she was having a great year, still having a great year, had a great year, 2-1 inside the octagon is always great. I know she was really trying to fly up in that top 10, top 8 range. And, you know, we just didn't have a lot of tape on Santos. Do you think 6 months from now, a year from now, that's a different test? Or, you know, how can you put a bow on that matchup?
Well, I'm going to tell you like this. Santos was very good. Are you with me?
Yeah.
We together still?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Santos is a very good fighter. I knew that going in. In fact, I remember watching her before, and I was thinking when she fought Molly McCann, I was thinking, wow, she's like a little Amanda Nunes. And she was on my radar. But when we get opportunities to fight, we don't duck them. You know, we take them because the people who are like that, you just go out there and fight Jake Paul. Then, you know, pick on people that you know you could beat, but that's not the way we operate. We fight anybody, we prepare for anybody, and we do the best that we can. So she took this fight. She's supposed to fight her before, but it came around this time. We said, listen, we fight everybody. We took it. She tried. It didn't work out, but it showed us a lot. It taught me a lot about what we need to do differently in training. So, you know, and that's the way this works, is that we have to continue. I don't mind losing. We don't mind losing, because as long as we get the lesson from it, now we know what we need to do so we don't lose in 2 years when it's more important. When she's fighting for a title, she's not going to be making the same mistakes. So as long as we keep losing where, like right now, it doesn't really matter as much, it's okay. So we can take a loss. That's not a problem. But as long as we get the lesson from it, we got the lesson. She was training Sunday night, stitches in her face and everything. So like she's been doing 2 days since the fight. So we're back in the gym. We're working on some things, cleaning some things up. And we're going right back out there. I called Mick right away and said, hey, man, listen, please don't make us wait too long. We need to get right back out there as fast as we can. We're ready.
Very nice. How close do you think that the armbar was in the late first?
She had a couple of strong opportunities, you know, like she had a couple of good opportunities. Like she almost had the flying arm lock in the beginning.
Right.
She had an armbar at the end of the first. She had an armbar in the third. She had some triangle opportunities that she missed. She passed on. But she had some opportunities. And so for me, and this is the way I like to look at the fighting style that we have. Like, you know, okay, she lost. But in my eyes, you didn't lose. You just ran out of time. You know what I'm saying? We just ran out of time. Like she eventually was going to catch that girl. She was going to catch that girl or die in the process. But time ran out. Right. You know, so like, that's the thing. That's the way we fight. We're trying to catch you and put you away. We're going to make you quit. That's the way we fight. And as time goes on, it's going to get worse for people, because now they're not just going to be worried about submissions. It's going to be worried about just getting hurt, because that's the direction we're going. We're trying to hurt you and then submit you. So, so, you know, she's 25 years old. By the time she's 28, she's going to be doing big things.
I agree. You know that we've been on the Gillian Savage train for a long time. Just a great fighter, great person. We're all in. We're excited for 2021. So here we go. 2020 started with Conor McGregor shouldering Donald Cowboy Cerrone. It ended in a flyweight draw at the Apex. Fans, no fans. You know, there's so much to start with, but of course, we got to start with the pandemic, Fight Island, just how humongous it was. UFC was so early in the stages. Dana White, I love he put that video out. He goes, I don't give a shit. We're doing this thing. Jacksonville, UFC 249 and on. You know, I kind of start there and I let you take with it, run with it. That is overwhelming the year of 2020 in MMA, right? It was just the pandemic year.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. This whole pandemic taught you a lot about yourself. It taught you a lot about what you're capable of, you know, where your strengths and weaknesses lie within yourself. And it also taught you who was real, you know, who your friends are and who's real. I tell you what, though, I learned a lot about Dana White. I spent a month on Fight Island with him, and, you know, we got a lot of quality time together, and I got a chance to talk to him a bit. And I learned a lot about the man, and the man, he's a hustler, man. Like he flat out was like, look, we don't talk about it, we do it, and we're not gonna put up picket signs and talk about doing something. We're going to do it, and that's the reason why so many fighters have jobs now, because Dana just said, listen, we're just doing it, and that's what he did, and that's the way I'm trying to live my life. I'm just doing it. I don't need permission from nobody to do anything. I don't need to ask anybody. I'm just doing it. And that's what Dana did with the UFC. He did it, and it kept a lot of people working, and we saw a lot of great things out of it. I saw some remarkable things. To be live on hand to watch Israel Adesanya beat up Paulo Costa was one of the most memorable things that registers with me in terms of mixed martial arts. To watch him just break him down that way was beautiful. Miraculous.
Beautiful. Yeah. It was beautiful art. Kind of one thing about Dana White, staying with him for a month. What's one thing that the people don't know about him? The mainstream doesn't know about Dana, or the media doesn't know about Dana. What's one thing, pro, con, sleeps? What's one thing that Dana White does that maybe not the middle class guy knows?
Well, and he would probably kill me for saying this, but he really cares a lot about the fighters.
Okay.
And I know it comes off like he doesn't. And, a lot of people give him a lot of crap for it. And they think that he, this, that, and the third, but he really cares a lot for the fighters, and he cares about people. And he probably would kill me for saying that in public, but it's true, man. And I got to say it because it's true, but he ultimately and genuinely cares about all the athletes, man. And I've seen him talk about them and just go, man, like, how can we help this person? And how can we, do this for this guy? And it's crazy. But the perception of him and how different it is from the reality of him in terms of how he feels about people.
Absolutely. It's so funny you said that, because you say that he throws out, he has a look for a reason, right? You know what I mean? But if he didn't care, there's so many times he could just walk away. And it was part of that little piece. He's like, I could have just sat in my house. I could have just dodged here, sat here, got big, worked out, and didn't need to help the 400 fighters or the 200 employees of all that nature. So you can tell that a smart man once put a little quote on their Instagram stories: we can only be great at doing things we really want to do for our own reasons. And that just hit me when, as soon as you said that, I screenshotted it, because I was like, oh, that's good, Dean. That's deep. But
yeah, I love that quote.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I like I said, this was a whole year thing, and we just let it run. And I think this is Dana White's year in a way. It really is. We can talk about fights of the year and fighters of the year, and the same 5 names or a couple fights come up. But what Dana White did for the MMA community, not just even for UFC, just to say, hey, mixed martial arts, we're putting you on top. We came in before basketball and football and hockey and all this stuff. I think it was really remarkable. I just think it was just his year, and have the apex. And how smart that was, almost kind of looking in the future, and then creating Fight Island, which you were there for a month. I don't think Fight Island's ever going to go away. I think that's going to be a thing in the future when people are allowed. I think that's going to be like a getaway. Like, we're going to do that in July instead of Vegas. They might do that in July and make it Snoop Dogg will be performing for Fight Island. I just think that's going to be a thing.
I think so too. I mean, if you've seen it, like if you're there, you go, man, the infrastructure of this is so solid. They're not just going to tear this down. I mean, it's not Disney World where the walls are made of styrofoam. I mean, this place is solid, and it's going to be there for a while, and UFC will be throwing fights there for a while. But you're 100% right about the Dana thing. Like, he don't have to do this. I mean, he's rich. He's rich already. He don't need nobody. He could fade away into the sunset. But the fact that he put his reputation on the line, put everything on the line in order to ensure that these fights are going to go on, man, it speaks a lot about him, man. And like, I know a lot of people made a lot of money from it. A lot of people got a lot of opportunities. When you think about like the Kevin Hollands of the world, who got known because of the opportunities that were granted to him. Lauren Murphy just talks about this was the best year of her fight career. Like, a lot of people really were advantaged by the pandemic and Dana throwing these fights during the pandemic.
Right. And then what you kind of said was, start off, it was our best year for Fight Bananas. Like, the pandemic kind of slowed everything down. We kind of pivot in some other directions. And then when shows opened up, it was just like the UFC never popped off week after week after week like they did for 26 straight weeks. Like, it was just an amazing amount of content. Sometimes you felt like you were overlooking Wonderboy Thompson because there was this fight coming on and of this nature. There was just so much content and great content. What do you think of the Apex? Some fighters love fighting there. The smaller cage, a little bit, more knit, more tight. And a lot of people didn't. Stipe was like really like, whoa, I want a big cage. I'm a heavyweight, all that nature. Going forward, do you think that's going to be a problem? And do you think some fighters get up with fans? I think there was a legitimate reason why Conor didn't fight all year long. I think he is. I think he is that guy that needs 18,000. I know Dana White would love it, 18,000 sold person out arena and all of that nature. But going forward, early 2021, Apex Fight Island, love your ideas and takes about fighters fighting in different locations of that.
Well, I'm an introvert anyway, so you know me. I'm obviously going to favor the low key arena and not having fans and being able to communicate and have a connection with your fighter, and that's very real. Like you're so connected to your fighter when you're in this type of environment at the Apex, and I love it. I think it's great, and I think the fighters actually appreciate it because again, they have a connection with their coach. They're not distracted by the fans. They're not swayed by the fans in any way. I think the judging is different because the judges aren't swayed by the fans in any way. So I think that the judging is more fair, even though it's still a problem. It is more fair. But I can see how some extroverts could say, man, I need the crowd in order to get up. It energizes me because that's how extroverts work. They get energized by energy from other people. And I can see that being a factor for them. But I think the majority of fighters are more low-key introverts that appreciate the low-key setting of the Apex.
And also, like, this is just me, who I have no fighting ability. It's just who I am as a person. I like to shake hands, kiss babies, right? I would think you would almost, as a fighter, going into a steel cage, and the solution is one person could be knocked out. Like, that's a very high solution is going to happen. Maybe it's better with no fans. That maybe it's like that, almost like it takes the buzz off. It takes like, hey, I don't want to get knocked out in front of 17,000 people. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, yeah. It almost feels like a gym fight. So like it's easier to prepare for it. It's very difficult to prepare to be in front of 18,000 people, but it's not that difficult to prepare to be in front of 20 people. And most of them cameramen and just people like minding their own business. Yeah. So really, I mean, there's always going to be because there are stakes on the line. So there's always going to be a sense of urgency or a sense of importance, but it's not, it doesn't feel as bad as when you walk out and then, 18,000 people are staring at you or start booing or flashing the lights or, or going, woo, woo. I mean, it's not, you don't get that effect. And again, I'm a true artist of the game, and I love the integrity of the game. So I don't need the fans. I don't care. And I know that sounds bad. Don't come yelling at me. But all I'm saying is that, like, you watch it on TV, it's better for us.
Yeah, you don't need the juice in the crowd. You know what I mean? You don't need that energy. Like I said, there's so many things I do want to hit on. I kind of will throw out a couple names, couple fights, and you're like, yeah, Dave, super crucial, vital. Like you mentioned Kevin Holland. Fighters like Kevin Holland, Davison Figueiredo, Chimaev had huge years. Charles Oliveira with the huge win over Tony Ferg just a month ago. Khabib Nurmagomedov, the retirement of Fight Island. To me, that was a beautiful. It was a moment. I'm the guy. I watch every show. I watch every pay-per-view. I pay for the pay-per-view. And watching that live, I felt like, oh, I'm in a moment right here. Like, this is a Michael Jordan walk away kind of a thing. That fight with Joanna and Wei Li did early in the year, I think it was February, March, was just still not one of the greatest female fights of all time, one of the greatest fights of all time. Poirier Hooker in the summer at Apex. I know that was a lot at you. I threw a lot at you, but just a couple of those really did it jump for you as it did for me.
Yeah, I mean, all of them did. I think that, it's been a great year for MMA in general, or especially the UFC. I mean, a lot has happened. We've seen a lot of people emerge as stars or showing the potential to be a star. And you named them, Kevin Holland, Chimaev. I think both of those guys have the potential to be stars. They're probably going to end up fighting soon. I kind of wish they wouldn't so soon because I'd like to see them run through another couple guys and hear some trash talk a little bit. But yeah, I love the fact that, that they've done their thing. We saw, not Conor McGregor, but, Khabib Nurmagomedov retired. I mean, that moment, like you said, it was a memorable moment. That's one of those moments where you're going to go, I remember where I was when that happened. And you were watching that as it transpired, and it almost felt like you were there when Whitney Houston sung the national anthem. It's one of those type of moments that you're always going to remember when you think back of his career. I mean, just so much has happened. You know, Dustin Poirier and Hooker and Dan Hooker, that was a great fight. Weili Zhang and Joanna, that was a great fight. I mean, just so much has happened. And, you know, and Israel Adesanya came out and just did so much. And then now what's going on? You know, the UFC, they're actually making some cuts, and Yoel Romero being one of them, and Anthony Pettis moving on. So, like, you know, we're just seeing, it's just unprecedented times. And I've been doing MMA for, 25 years. I've been involved in this stuff for 25 years, and I'm never not surprised. Like, everything still surprises me because all this is so new to everybody.
Right. You said the word surprise. I think a big surprise in the kind of combat sports world was the whole Mike Tyson coming back, Roy Jones Jr., big skeptical. Then now we got Jake Paul and Logan Paul, and now there's the words of Ben Askren, and one's challenging Conor McGregor, one knocked out Nate Robinson. Where are you at on the circus kind of event in combat sports? Is there a place for it? Do you like it? Do you like people getting paydays? Do you wish, like you said, I do think of you more of an artist, a martial artist. Does it kind of get on your nerves a little bit if they take up some of the limelight from some other mixed martial artists? Where are you on that?
No, I've never been that one. You know, I think there's a place for all of it. I'm like, it's like music to me. You know, there's a place for booty shake music, and there's a place to listen to classical music. You know, and there's a place for everything. You got to learn to appreciate all of it, and all of it is good. Like, I never was down on CM Punk for getting the opportunity to fight in the UFC. I was always for it because what he did was he brought attention to the sport, and it got other people some looks. So, you know, the fact that Jake Paul and Logan Paul are calling out MMA guys, it's great for MMA because now a bunch of kids are going to know about Ben Askren and Dylan Dennis and all these other guys, all because of them. You know, they're actually doing us a favor by bringing some light and shining a light on our sport. So I think it's great. Now, in terms of, watching it, like, it's entertainment. Like, I watch all kinds of entertainment. You know, I watch, it's like to me, it's like watching, Transformers or something. It's just watching entertainment. I don't care. But but honestly, let's talk about Ben for a moment. Okay. He has to be careful. Ben does have to be careful because, regardless of what you think about these kids, I mean, this kid can punch, man. Like, they're athletes. I mean, he's not a scrub. He's an athlete. He can't. I mean, he's not a professional fighter, but he's an athlete and he can punch. You can watch videos of him sparring. He's knocking guys down. I mean, that's not easy to do, to knock guys down. So, and that's for anybody. So Ben does have to be careful.
You're right, and it's so funny you say this because it's a good one. It's So this year with Fight Banaz, we've got into a little bit of the betting angle of mixed martial arts. It's I think it's it's not untapped, but I feel it's going to explode in the near future, 2021, 2022, with FanDuel and DraftKings, all of that nature, and people talking about betting on fights. Because in a weird way, there's Gillian fights 3 times a year. It is so crucial, so vital for, she's all in, right? That Izzy fights once or twice a year. In a basketball game, LeBron James lost last night. It's like, no big deal. He's got 71 more games to go. So I think betting on mixed martial arts, especially when you got some information and the fighters and camps, I think it could be really big, and I think it will be in the future. So a birdie that you and I both know, and I'll tell you off air, calls me that night and goes, Dave, Jake Paul is going to absolutely destroy Nate Robinson. This is the easiest bet in combat sports history. I'm like, really? Like, I knew who he was and all, and I know Nate's a basketball player, but he goes, no, I guarantee you. And the line wasn't that bad. So this man won me some good money that night. You know what I mean? I got kids, I got college, coming up. So it was a good night for the Van Auken house.
Yeah, well, I tell you this, some sports don't really translate over well. And basketball is a sport that it doesn't really translate over well to fight. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why, but it just doesn't. And, I can't really think of a lot of guys who I know that could ball that have, started fighting and have had a lot of success. It just doesn't transfer over well. And But you're dealing with young, scrappy kids here, man, that probably like to fight and like he's, so again, like Ben does, I don't know what's going to happen. Ben is a tough dude. Like Ben's got a, despite him getting knocked out by Masvidal, Ben's got a good chin. He's been hit by a lot of dudes, but he's older now.
Yeah.
He don't train. He don't box. So it's like, you're just not going to walk in there off the couch and be like, all right, man, because no matter what happens, like if this dude lasts longer than we expect, longer, then it's a victory for him. And if God forbid he knocks Ben out, that makes everybody look silly.
Right. It does. It does. Especially 28-0 or 27-0 before the Masvidal knee. Couple last things with you, Dean. Always appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. One is, if I could throw out there, and I don't know, tell me if I'm crossing a line or anything, but I've been seeing you a little bit. I think you've been looking a little slender. You've been looking a little clean, a little cut, a little good. Jose Shorty Torres is talking about you. I see the gloves are flowing on your hands a little bit. I know you're only 43 years young. That's Glover Teixeira.
44. Yeah, get up there. Yeah, but I appreciate the year.
I was trying to give you the year. What are you thinking? You want one more? You want to go in there for one more?
I don't know, man. I just know that the life is short, and I don't want to leave nothing behind.
Right.
And I'm getting older, but I'm trying to combat that with having a youthful attitude. Again, like I'm riding every day. I play basketball. We got a hoop up at the house. We play ball. I'm just trying to do a lot of different things and enjoy, and just as my guy Tom Todoroff, acting coach, says, raise your joy tolerance. And that's just to, do whatever you do and just do it with as much joy as you can. And if that means, lace up the gloves one more time or compete in some grappling matches, then that's what it is, But I want to be prepared and be in shape and be ready.
Absolutely. It feels like the knowledge you have in the combat sports world is almost unmatched, and it's just it feels like you're just 44. You saw what Glover did this year. Glover looked good, and people are talking about his age. Tom Brady's still throwing the ball around, so I think you got one or two more left in you. I can see you grappling and submitting someone late in the first.
Well, the thing is, man, I think I still could fight, man. I'll tell you what, I think I still could. I probably have to fight heavy though. I don't want to the one thing that's keeping me from taking a fight is cutting weight. Like that ain't going to happen. So if somebody wants to fight me at whatever weight I'm at, like that could happen, but I ain't cutting no weight.
That'd be funny. That's awesome. What's a bold prediction you got for 2021? It can literally be about one fighter. It can be about a weight class. It can be about a genre. Just something you foresee really happening really strong in 2021 in the UFC or just all of mixed martial arts?
Wow, that is a good question. It's something I never thought of, but now I'm going to see if I can't pull something out the back of my mind here. I think in 2021, I think MMA is really going to take over in terms of sports, and I think that a lot of fighters are going to experience a level of success and notoriety and fame that we've never experienced before. I think that 2021 is going to be that year because I think that people resonate with the realness of MMA. And I think that finally they're going to start getting their due. And you're seeing these guys that are just stepping up, man, and just like handling their business. You're seeing guys taking fights on a couple days' notice going, boom, put me in, coach. And people resonate with that. And I think that that's going to do a lot for MMA in general. And I think that MMA is eventually going to, I don't want to say surpass basketball, football, and all that, but I think it's really going to get close in terms of notoriety, fame, fighters just really showing these glimpses of celebrity that we've never seen before.
I like that. That's a great answer. I'm so happy you mentioned that because to wrap up 2020, you would have to say the name Paul Felder. I thought what he did was tremendous. And it's funny, I got into a couple debates and arguments about it. People were like, they thought it was a mistake that he took the fight, he took the loss, and it's like, oh, he's never going to fight for the title, and he's never going to be number one contender. And I'm like, Who cares? Like I'm in it. Like I'm telling you, I know the last 7 fights of Whitaker, and you name any guy, Charles Oliveira can name you the last 6 fight, when he stopped, all of it. But like to the normal guy, like what Paul Felder did is this Rocky Balboa moment. It's this moment, his stock, his name, Riz forever. Like I don't think that a number 1 contendership fight in a tough lightweight division that you might not ever get anyways to go through that ladder. I thought what Paul Felder did was tremendous. I thought it was a highlight of 2020.
Paul Felder had a great year.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I almost got him kicked off Fight Island when I sat next to him with COVID on the plane. But Paul Felder had a great year. I mean, we saw Paul Felder emerge. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Paul Felder separated himself from everybody else in terms of characterization. Now, here's a guy who was just a fighter, a couple years ago. Now he's a personality. He's a commentator. He's now the guy who comes in on a short notice. He's the guy who commentates the fight and goes out and corners his buddy, and then he comes right back. I mean, Paul Felder is a brand now. Yeah. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And what Paul Felder did was great. And again, like the quote I said, it's for your reason. You're really good at what you do for your reason. And whatever Paul Felder's reason is for taking that fight, he did a good job. And no one can criticize him because it was for his reason, not yours.
Absolutely. I love it. Hey, I think we nailed it. 2020 year in review. Dean Thomas going to be driving the bicycle across the state. Heads up, guys. I'm going to throw in the link. All podcast platforms, any kind of social media, YouTube, we'll put it all in there. The Firm, Gillian Savage Robertson, unfollow Shorty Torres, all the good stuff. Anything else, Dean? Did we nail it?
Can we talk about my on BJJ Fanatics? I have a BJJ program for sale right now on BJJ Fanatics, so you can go there and find that link, and then buy my thing. It talks about jiu-jitsu for MMA, so buy that. Up your BJJ game for MMA.
Very cool. Very cool. Did Dean tell you the first day for Icon in 2021 yet?
No, he did not.
Okay, we'll talk off air.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'm missing it, man. Like I had such a good run at the end of 2020. I'm going to all these events. I'm in Biloxi. I'm in all these places, and then they went to San Carlos, Mexico, and I'm like, man, I couldn't make it.
Well, San Carlos is a beautiful place, man. Maybe you'll get there sometime in 2021.
2021, new year. Be blessed. Have a good rest of the 2020. We'll talk to you soon, brother. Thank you.
All right, my man. Peace out.
All right. Bye.